Hello, everybody. Welcome to our girl led dialogue for today. For now, let us watch a WAGS program video about what is the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts.
I will bring what I will bring what I have learned here, like the advocacy skills and also the tools that I have learned, and also the experience that I have gained from the I will bring what I have learned here, like the advocacy skills and also the tools that I have learned, and also the experience that I have gained from the interaction with other participants to the young people back in Hong Kong. I will educate them about that, and so I can spread the message.
When I'll be home again, I want to motivate others for making a campaign. I also want to inspire lots of young people from my community to change towards a more sustainable way of life.
More creativity, friend. I learn the different action to save our environment, and I get more self-confidence.
So I think I want to just get everybody aware of what is going on, as well as take some actions. So we're going to be cleaning up, trying to visit schools, holding mini forums, letting people know exactly what is going on in the country as well as around the world.
I've changed. And if I teach other young people in my community what I've learned, may they change and they may spread, making others change.
I think what I've learned is about making sure that every single meeting has a sort of sparkle to it, something that you'd want to share with your friends. So we've got to give them that magic all the way through.
I've increased myself as a leader, but more as a human being.
First of all, it refines my leadership skills, and at the same time, the most important of all is it gives very much courage for me to believe in myself, and I can trust in myself that I can really make the change.
All over the world, so nice.
From Australia to Africa to
India,
Asia,
Malaysia.
all of those countries. We have friends all over there right now. Girl empowerment. Yeah.
Thanks, Yendi, Sarah, Marie, Crystal, Gigi, and Kate for perfectly describing the magic that we all feel in the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to your side of the world. I'm Francine Prades from the Philippines, and I will be your moderator for today's event. Welcome to our event by girls, for girls, and with girls. Nutrition Next Gen Empowerment. To start our event, let us have a Girl Guide and Girl Scout battery check on Mentimeter. So go to menti.com and type the code that is shared on the screen. The code for this is 62114429. Let me repeat it again. The code for this is 62114429. So just go to menti.com and just type in the code and we'll see you there. So the question that shall appear on your screen on mentimeter.com is, how are you feeling today? Are you feeling like a superhero? Are you feeling terrific? Are you feeling very happy? Or are you feeling very grateful to be here surrounded by very empowered women and girls? So, whichever you decide, I'm sure this would be an experience you won't forget. So, let's see what the results are. Okay, I think some people are still trying to connect. And some people are already answering. So we have three people that are feeling very grateful to be here today. And we have two people that are very happy. And we have another two that are feeling like a superhero. So those are all nutrition puns, if you could imagine or you could see. Yes, today's event is something about nutrition. And keep your answers coming. Feel free to share with us how you are feeling today. So let me just repeat the code. If you're new here or you just arrived, welcome to our event. And we have an icebreaker called the Girl Scout or Girl Guide battery check. And it's on Mentimeter. Just go to menti.com. That's spelled as MENTI.com and type the code 62114429. So just type in the code and just answer the question, how are you feeling today? So this day is all about you. It's all about girls and women and their voices. All right, so you can see it in the chat box. We have some of our organizers chatting the code and also the menti.com link. So that's absolutely amazing. And yes, we have a message to our panelists from a member of the audience. They are feeling very great. And thank you so much to our audience. I know some are still connecting, some are still trying to access the link. And if you can answer the link, that would be amazing. It would be great to know whether you're feeling like a superhero, you're feeling terrific, you're feeling very happy, or you're feeling grateful. So no worries, we're not in a rush, so we can still see your answers, and we really want to know, how are you feeling today? All right. So I think while some are still trying to connect and some are still trying to think of how they're feeling today, Piensha, one of our leaders here, mentioned that she is feeling so good. She's feeling better. And that's great, Piensha. We love the energy. All right. So thank you so much to our audience. Thank you and hello from all the way to your corner of the world. Thank you so much to our audience for participating in our short icebreaker. I know you're still trying to get your energy up, and it is amazing to know that everyone is pumped up for our event today. So, before listening to all the amazing stories that our panelists will share with us, let us first hear from Lasika Jayamaha, a girl powered nutrition advocacy champion from Sri Lanka, as she shares with us what this event is all about and how it came into fruition.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Francine, for that amazing and exciting icebreaker session. So, Welcome to everyone from wherever you are joining us. And I'm Lasika. And let me just give you a brief introduction on today's session, which is Nutrition Next Generation Empowerment. As most of you may or may not be aware, the 65th session of the United Nations Status of Women, or CSW 65, is currently underway virtually. And the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts has got 15 advocacy champions as well as 100 delegates attending the conference to make sure our voices are heard. So the advocacy champions of the Girl Powered Nutrition Program want to make our voices heard because we believe that the role of nutrition and women's empowerment are interconnected and intersectional. So without further ado, let me give the board back to Francine to continue with today's proceedings.
Thank you, Lasika. Indeed, the gender gap in nutrition and the unequal representation of women in decision making are some, if not the major cross cutting issues that girls face worldwide. It is important for girls to know that they're not only heard, but also supported in taking action. On that note, we encourage our audience, yes, all of you, to take part in our Instagram story or Facebook My Day challenge. To join, go to any of WAG's official social media accounts and download the template like the one on your screen. And what you'll do there is that you'll answer the question, what issues on nutrition and decision making do you want to be heard? Then tag 3 girl guides or Girl Scouts to do the challenge. Don't forget to use the hashtags guides at CSW and hashtag listen to girls. You can also opt to tag WAGs at their official social media accounts or official social media handles at Wags World. So the thing that you can do here to recap, go online, go to Wags social media accounts, answer the IG story challenge, share it on Instagram or Facebook, tag 3 of your friends, and let's get this advocacy campaign going strong and going the long run. So I see some of our audience are really pumped up to join in our challenge and they're also really excited. And that's great. Here in our IG story challenge, we really want to have your voices heard as loud as our advocacy champions, as loud as the decision makers in CSW. All right, let's not keep you waiting. I know you'll do the IG story challenge and Facebook My Day challenge as soon as you get online. So now, for the main part of our program, I would like to present our first panelist for this morning, Shara Patria Pascual. Shara is a peer educator for the Free Being Me and Action on Body Confidence programs. She is also an advocacy champion for the girl powered nutrition in the Philippines. Hello, Shara.
Hello, Francine, and to everyone who is with us today. I am Shara Patria G. Pascual from the Philippines, and as a guide at CSW, I would like you to listen to girls' underrepresentation in decision making. Women are often perceived as weak due to the constructed preconception of gender. We are always underrepresented in highly decision-making process, and it hinders us from speaking up and deciding for our own, which results in the continuous challenge for women in surpassing various issues like malnutrition. It is absurd to ensure a world where women are free from violence, inequalities, biases, and inadequate health nutrition if the key decision makers restrict our involvement in creating solutions. For me, nutrition plays a crucial role in women as it could negatively or positively affect their capabilities. As advocacy champions, we generate programs and activities focused on raising awareness in balanced and healthy lifestyle to reach our fullest potentials. With that said, having proper nutrition habits boost women to fully assert their role in decision making. That's all, Francine. Thank you.
Thanks, Shara. We also have with us Roberta Dian Martin, a GPN advocacy champion and an ambassadress for WAG's International Women's Day celebration. Hello, Roberta.
Hello, hello, Ate Francine. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to different Girl Scouts from different parts of the world, participation in decision making, and hidden hunger. Gender equality is one of the cross-cutting issues highlighted contribute and enhance the speed of achieving other goals, including, for example, the Sustainable Development Goal number 2, the zero poverty. In a number of low-income countries, women's decision-making power has been linked to child nutritional status. Women with lower decision-making power having a higher likelihood of having undernourished children, and several studies examined women empowerment in relation to undernutrition, with empowerment often being a composite of economic, sociocultural, legal, and/or political variables, measured by one of which is its effects on decision-making power. Women who have higher dietary diversity compared to those who do not have or has a less decision-making power. And this may indicate autonomy to buy nutritious food, suggesting that improving women's decision-making could have a positive impact on nutrition. This link to the availability of a diverse diet in the home, and this supports the notion that women's decision-making autonomy is an important aspect of women's empowerment in terms of dietary diversity and, as a result, improved nutritional status. That's all, Francine.
Great, thanks, Roberta, for your well researched statement on the topic. Let us now listen to Mary Divine de Villaluna. Divine is also an advocacy champion for the GPN program and concurrently serving as WAG's ambassadress to Europort Global, advocating for women's empowerment in public life. Hello, Divine.
Hello, Francine, and hello to everyone. I am Mary Divine Villa Luna from the Philippines, and as a guide at CSW, I would like you to listen to girls on the growing issues that we are facing right now. In this given situation, problems concerning girls and young women have multiplied, and we cannot stand seeing these happening without doing something to help address such concerns, even just in our little ways. Thus, having this opportunity to speak with fellow young women with the same goal, and of course, being viewed by numerous people, is another step for us and our voices to be heard. Now, what do you think are the things that affect women's participation in decision making? I know you have a lot in mind. Among those will be the topic that we will talk about for the whole duration of this event, which is nutrition. We have things to consider here since nutrition plays a vital role in each of us. The underlying causes of such a problem are contributing a lot to preventing girls and young women reach and achieve their fullest potential. Hence, we must take action because no one will do it for us. Thank you, Francine.
Thank you to Divine. And we also have here with us in this forum an advocacy champion for GPN and one of the 15 advocacy champions who will be forwarding our message to decision makers in the 65th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. Let us give a warm round of applause for Piensha Ngirwa. Hello, Piensha.
Hello, Francine. Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Piensi Ankilwa from Tanzania Girl Guide of Association. Also, I am an advocacy champion in nutrition. Also, I am a global advocacy champion in a delegate on CSW 65 2021. I'm so proud that today we are meeting for the different members here in different in worldwide. I want to share a little things about how we can make it decision making. The first thing I want to share is gender equality. It is in gender equality, we must have the equal balance both between men and women. Also is to have the unique opportunity toward the different unique opportunity to change the gender barrier, equal opportunity to change the gender barrier, also the gender norms toward to other equity. So here, as we know that most of our country or most of our region, we have the different issues we are facing in our country. So I want to say that we should have the equal balance both between men and women. If you want to own their land, not only the men can own the land, but also the women can own the land. Although I want to talk about the food taboos. About the food taboos also, we normally happen in the men are eating the good balanced diet, but it's not well. Even the women should eat the good nutrition habits. We should balance. The second point I want to share is to empower women. How should we empower? The first things I want to share is to empower them by providing the education from different aspects, social, economic, and political. So when we empower the women, the first things, it can know how to protect herself, it can know how to defend herself, it can know how to have the self-confidence within and outside. Okay, I want to share another things, not only in the towns, in the urban areas, but also in the rural areas. In the rural areas, as you know, we should consider in rural areas, we should consider the women, also as well, we should consider the girls. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Fiensha. We absolutely agree with you on the food taboos and the gender biases that women and girls face on a daily basis. Our next panelist is Olivia Sabado. Olivia worked previously on the national campaign of Together We Rise and WAG's IWD celebration. Now, she is focusing her efforts on strengthening girls' access to proper nutrition. Hello, Olivia.
Hello, Francine. Hello, everyone. I hope you are all doing fine today. Once again, I am Olivia P. Sabado from the Philippines, and as a guide at CSW, I would like you to listen to girls and on the problems that involve us. We deserve to be heard and given enough avenues to speak out and voice out the gender inequality we are experiencing. We comprise half of the world's population, which means that we are the source of half of the capabilities and skills that can contribute to an inclusive, productive, and sustainable world for all. If gender inequality continues, violence against us will also follow, as well as issue in nutrition affecting girls and women. The prevalence of underrepresentation of women and girls will incessantly persist if we will not be heard. Now is the right time to hear our outcry and to take action. You and I are the right person to take that action. And as I mentioned, listen to us on problems concerning women's participation, especially on decision making in public life. I believe that nutrition plays a vital role in everyone's life, especially in our representation in decision making spaces. Women are disproportionately affected by the burden of malnutrition, and it highly impacts the development of girls and enriching their fullest potential. If this continues, the holistic growth of an individual may blur. It can also have an enormous effect on her participation in decision making. It may influence the performance negatively or positively. Deficiencies and issue may emerge wherein if the nutrition isn't a priority. Nutrition is a facet that everyone should give importance to. It affects every aspect of our life, even on how we participate in decision making. That's all for me, Francine. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. It's wonderful to hear from you, Olivia. It is particularly important to highlight the need for action and that girls are the experts of their lives and issues that concern their demographic. Our next speaker, Sofia Lan de los Santos, will be able to relate well with your experiences on GPN and IWD, whose core principles tie in with her education on social work. Hello, Sophia.
Hello, Francine. So, I am Sofia Landelos Santos from the Philippines, and as a guide at the Commission of the Status of Women, I would like you to listen to girls on the issue of malnutrition, as it is an issue that is prevalent not just in the Philippines but in the whole world, and that certain measure needs to be implemented as soon as possible to encourage individuals to take care of their own health as well as the health of others. As for nutrition, it has a negative and positive effect on women's participation in decision making. Having proper nutrition contributes to a person's skills and abilities, the ability to listen, to learn, and to speak and to voice out. However, if a person does not reach the required nutrient intake or does not have access to resources to eat healthily, their health and nutrition could decrease, leading to problems like malnutrition, hidden hunger, and obesity. To conclude, more nourished girls are more likely to contribute in decision making. That's all for me, Francine.
Thanks, Sophia. Speaking of education, our next panelist wrote a paper to study the understanding of gender equality and sustainable development within the SDGs framework. She is an advocacy champion for both GPN and WAGs and is set to deliver key advocacy campaigns to decision makers in the CSW. Let us put our hands together for Fezoro ni Friavana Rakoto Malala. Hello, Fezoro.
Hi everyone, I am happy to be with you on this special day and thank you all for being here with us. My name is Faizul Nifjabanara Putmalal. I'm from Madagascar. As a guide at CSW, I will like you to listen to girls on the nutritional issues that many girls are currently experiencing. As a girl, we have the right to acquire good nutrition to stay healthy in order to secure our future, to make it better, because we know that food is one of the fundamental bases for the survival of women living beings on Earth, and we are part of it. Therefore, we deserve to be listened to be understood by all without expectation. It should not even be a struggle to fight, but logically natural as a woman. Yet nowadays, young women, let us take as an example here in Madagascar. Malagasy families living in a traditional society observe it as a respect for men to serve them good food first and give them greater quantity compared to women. It is only after men have eaten and are satisfied that the wife and daughters could eat the leftover, if any. Can you imagine it? It is too unfair, and yet it is real and still exists in 2021. I can say that it is purely a psychological and physical violence, pointing out a serious form of gender inequality, and that we must eradicate and completely change, especially if we want to empower women in public life and to involve them in decision making. If not, how will they be able to speak out and be heard? How can they acquire full knowledge and new skills? How can they be motivated and have confidence in themselves and in what they are doing? Despite these issues, I'm still relieved that we are here, the advocacy champions in girl-powered nutrition, to contribute, advocate, and support girls like us, girls who face various issues related to nutrition so that they can develop their full potential in order to participate in decision making and push them to be autonomous. That's all from me. Thank you very much, Francine.
Thank you, Fahizoro. And let's get ready, everyone, to listen to an inspiring Girl Scout who is actively working towards a safe, equal, and inclusive society through her commitments in the GPN program and the annual IWD celebration. It's an honor to have you here, Ravaka. Hello.
Hi, Francine, and hi, everyone, and welcome to this special event. My name is Ravaka Ranjana Manan from Girl Scouts of Madagascar, and it's an honor for me to participate in this event. As a girl guide at the Commission on the Status of Women, I would like to listen to girls on statements on how nutrition affects women's participation in decision making. I can't emphasize enough how interdependent the link between nutrition and women's participation in decision making is. But today, I would like to bring some highlights about it in order to raise a voice. In fact, nutrition can affect women's participation in decision making in two ways, in a positive way and in a negative way. On one hand, nutrition affects women's participation in decision making positively when they feel empowered and strengthened to achieve their goals. It is important to remind that nutrition allows women to reach their fullest potential, and when it comes to decision making and female representation in public life, women become more confident and believe in themselves when they have the energy and help required to face it. In addition, a good nutrition helps women to boost their intellectual and emotional capacity, which means that women with good and healthy food habits are likely to be more productive, ready to take up space, and serve their community. On the other hand, nutrition affects women's participation in decision making negatively when it prevents them from reaching their fullest potential. In fact, malnutrition can harm women's ability to participate and be active in public life because healthy food is a fundamental basis of every human needs to achieve their goals in life. That's why female representation in public life and decision making is low, as they are among the most vulnerable population who need to be empowered. To conclude, I would like to end my presentation with my favorite quote of Meghan Markle, which says, "Women don't need a voice, they have a voice. They just need to feel empowered to use it, and people need to be encouraged to listen." That's all from me. Thank you all for your attention, and back to you, Francine.
Thank you, Ravaka. And last but definitely not the least panelist, we have again Lasika Jayamaha. Lasika is a practicing dietitian and nutritionist. Through her occupation and her role as an advocacy champion in the GPN program, she lends her voice towards ensuring a healthy, productive, and sustainable society. Hi, Lasika.
Hi everyone again. I'm Lasika Jayamaha from Sri Lanka, and as a guide at CSW, I would like you to listen to girls on malnutrition and the role of media on our food choices. So, nutrition affects a person's physical, mental, and social well being. And in today's context, media, or in particular social media, has become a massive influence on most of the choices that we make, especially on food, on nutrition, on health, and lifestyle. Young girls and women are the main target, and more often it becomes a negative influence, leading to malnutrition in the forms of hidden hunger or nutritional deficiencies. This directly impacts on education, career, body confidence, to name a few, and thereby it also affects our opportunities to become leaders and decision makers in society. So it is evident that good nutrition is key to creating empowered young women that can be a voice for women to take on roles in decision making, be it in their homes, their communities, or in national and global capacities. Thank you, everyone, and over to you, Francine.
Thank you so much to all our empowered speakers. Let us now watch a video on the young women in governance advocacy.
over half of the women who participated in the Young Women in Governance research feel ready to take up decision-making roles.
Did you know that 98% of all the respondents believe that young women in decision-making roles
sont bonnes pour le jeu de femmes elles-mêmes, les organisations membres et notre mouvement dans son ensemble?
Despite this, not many young women stand for decision-making roles.
لماذا هذا؟ قالت لنا الشابات بأن ذلك يرجع أساساً إلى دعم محدود من منظمتهن أو اختلاف السياق الثقافي في بلدهن أو اختلاف العقليات أو تصورات حول إمكانية أو قدرة الشابات على القيام بهذه الأدوار.
Savez-vous qu'un tiers des jeunes femmes ne savaient pas que des rôles décisionnels étaient dispensables pour elles?
Did you know that only 1 in 5 respondents were familiar with the application process?
¿Sabías que la mitad de las mujeres jóvenes considera que los programas de la AMGS fueron efectivos para prepararlas para tomar roles de liderazgo?
Yes, the WAGS programs that ranked high in the list were Freebeing Me, Stop the Violence, the Yes program, the Juliet Lowe Seminar, the Helen Storrow Seminar, and Girl Power Nutrition.
Did you know that 70% agreed that there should be a quota for young women in decision-making bodies?
اقتراحنا هو تطوير برنامج تدريبي وتعليمي عن الحوكمة تنقدر نطور مهارات مهمة.
Provide youth-friendly information about decision-making roles.
Y apoyo durante todo su proceso de solicitud.
Introduce a transitional quota system with at least 30% or 2 to 3 young women to be in any decision-making body.
Join us in creating a more youth-led Girl Guide and Girl Scout movement.
Know more by visiting www.wags.org.
The World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, as the largest global movement for girls and women, is focused on taking action to continuously involve young women in decision-making responsibilities and expose them to numerous opportunities to ensure this. Data compiled by the UN Women show that in 133 countries, women comprise only 36% of decision makers at the local level. In national parliaments, there are only about 25% of women members, which saw a significant rise from 11% in 1995. But even then, gender parity will not be achieved before 2063. Through a research team, WAGS took part in examining the leadership dynamics of its members, along with possible factors that affect young women's participation and how they might be able to address such concerns moving forward, leading to the Young Women in Governance advocacy, which you saw in the video earlier. Now, Shara, can you share with us here, with everyone in the panel and in the audience, the narratives of girls in your community and or country?
Hello, Francine. So before I start, I would like to commend the WAG's research team for providing information for us to be aware and updated on the current status of young women in decision making. To answer the first question, I'm grateful that most of the girls in our movement organization are actively participating and engaging in various societal issues where they are given opportunities and practices to build up important skills in the decision-making process. It is evident because, as you can see, many of us here are from the same country. However, we cannot deny the fact that there are still a large number of girls who are being left behind. There might be different causes of this, like lack of support from peers and social groups, erroneous perceptions of women capabilities, inadequate knowledge on the decision-making process, and many more. Recently, I read some articles and news reports in our country claiming women are not suitable for the presidency. In fact, there are only 2 females who have ascended to the presidency in the Philippines, mainly because they are being looked down on and being deprived of the chance to campaign. That is just a glimpse of the hindrances why women struggle in having a consistent position in decision making. Putting the prevalent issues on global perspective, the first election history happened 500 years BCE, and yet Women's suffrage, or the woman's right to vote, was only attained in 1838. The first time a sovereign nation heeded a call for women's suffrage was in 1913. Imagine having to spend more than 2 millennia just to realize that women deserve to vote, and they naturally have the right to speak about the matters that affect them and their society. Not only did it muffle women's voices, our voices, it established a culture of ignorance and belittlement of women and their causes. I'm also not a stranger to this kind of treatment. However, through the support and opportunities given to us by our organization, we are here and we are now part of the solution making process. For me, the following steps are necessary to reinforce women's participation in public life. First, allow girls to be part of the process. Let them observe, raise questions, and voice out ideas. Second, implement capacity building activities to enhance their skills. Third, provide support wherever possible. And lastly, ensure equal access to opportunities. If only these practices can be applied to all movements for girls or both genders, then balanced participation of women and men can be achieved. Women should be treated equally with men in decision making, as the contemporary issues we are facing knows no gender. Specifically, if there is limited spaces for girls in the nutritional field, how could we possibly resolve malnutrition for the sectors most vulnerable to it? An article by the Population Reference Bureau conveyed that women are more likely to be affected by poor nutrition than men. At least 120 million women in developing countries are underweight, and 50% of all pregnant women are anemic. Women's productivity is hampered by being underweight. According to studies, and being underweight can lead to higher rates or mortality. The majority of women in certain areas are underweight. In fact, in South Asia, for example, 60% of women are considered underweight. Thereby, we need to ensure equal representation of women and men in the decision making process regarding nutrition, which also applies in violence, poverty, and other issues. It has been 183 years since we gained the voice that macho feudal system thought they gave to us, but it is rightfully ours. As the movements before us lead us to experience what it feels like to be seen, to be heard, and to partake on causes that we feel passionately about, we must continue the plight of countless women across the globe for quality healthcare that involves comprehensive discussions and solutions regarding nutrition related problems. Let us continue to raise our resounding sounds, calls for advocacies, and use our voices to amplify the calls of other women. Let us continue in taking space in our society, cementing our place in creating decisions for concerns that affect society itself. That's all for me, Francine. Thank you.
Thank you too, Shara, for candidly sharing your personal experience on decision making. And it has been a long struggle that women had to endure to receive equal representation. And even then, in today's society, it is a struggle that we still encounter and fight for and fight against. And how about you, Roberta? I know you've talked about this in your previous engagements, but how important is it for you that women are represented equally and accurately in public life?
Thank you for that question, Francine. For me, it is a vital and important aspect in our economy. But for in my country, women's rights to full participation and representation in all aspects of life is critical and vital to fully realizing their potential as development agents and beneficiaries. According to the Philippine Commissions of Women, despite the fact that about one-fifth of the government elected positions, and women in key government positions have shown that they are just as capable and successful as their male counterparts when it comes to leadership and decision making. Meaning, if the woman in the key government position has the capability to lead and to make the decisions, and so as all the girls and young women has the power to participate in decision making, we are while men can and do participate in development of gender-responsive policies and programs. They cannot always or fully reflect the needs, problems, socializations, and experiences of women because only a woman would know their struggles and the obstacles that they are encountering. When addressing women's life, it is crucial to examine the underlying social, cultural, environmental, and economic determinants of health and nutrition because it plays a vital role in their participation. And analyzing women's empowerment and participation by focusing on indicators categorized in 5 dimensions: the economic contribution, education, governance, health, and media. Dimension in regards to women's participation is divided into subcategories of pertinent indicators, but due to substantial differences, indicators in particular allow for qualitative explanation and quantification of gender distribution, ensuring progress using benchmarks. That indicators can highlight areas that benefit from improved allocation of resources and demonstrate successful schooling is a primary predictor of their weak participation in their public life. Hunger and illness are associated with poverty, but so as disempowerment and marginalization. As a result, many women and girls face harassment and other human right abuses. The, the reason why women are nonetheless underrepresented may not be their lack of competence or qualifications, but rather the presence of statistical discrimination. It is a struggle to promote women's participation in decision making, but moving forward in the long run, promoting women's representation and participation in decision making allows them to contribute to growth and nation building while also ensuring that women and men, girls and boys, have equal access to resources and development results and outcomes in order for us to have a sustainable future ahead of us. That's all, Francine. Thank you.
This is a great analysis of what both sides of the coin looks like, Roberta. And it is truly insightful that you mentioned the terms indicators, you mentioned the terms benchmarks, and the 5 dimensions by which the aforementioned terms are based upon. So let us move on to our next panelist. Hi, Divine. I know you're from the Philippines as well. Is women's participation in public life or the lack thereof something that you struggle with personally or as a collective majority? And if yes, can you offer any solutions from the top of your mind on how we can resolve this moving forward?
Hi, Francine. Okay, so in women's participation in public life or decision making is something that I struggle with. The answer to this is yes. In the previous years, but through time, I became more equipped and capable of leading and taking part in decision making through my involvement in the movement. They have instilled in me the principles of being a woman for her world, and that's how it made me the empowered woman that I am today. So, yeah, before I offer any solutions from the top of my mind, I just wanted to mention again what Lasika has said in the introduction that the role of nutrition and the empowerment of women are interconnected or intersectional. Thus, we have a lot to consider in talking about the possible factors that affect young women's participation in leadership and decision making. In my country, the Philippines, I have seen that the numbers of girls taking a step forward, leaving their comfort zones, are continuously growing. I agree with you, Shara, that the girls from our movement organization are actively participating and engaging in various societal issues where they are given opportunities and practices to build up important skills and the decision making process. But of course, this wouldn't be possible without the support of all the empowered women who run and strengthen the movement. It is vital to acknowledge that while empowerment should be made accessible to every girl, we cannot personally prevent girls from refusing to take part in such activities. We also have to consider factors such as low self esteem, not having enough knowledge on the MO financial problems or lack of support, religion and culture related, and more, most importantly, nutrition. I myself have witnessed how other girls were willing to join the movement and develop their skills to contribute in taking actions on these issues, but there are these factors that hinder them from participating in public. So in line with this, solution to this is simple. We will not go through the technicalities because most of us tend to overlook the basic foundation of the answers that we are looking for right now. So for now, let me advise you to invest in yourself. The greatest investment you can have is investing in yourself. You have nothing to lose and you can never go wrong with this. Start by accepting the person that you are, embracing your flaws, acknowledging your imperfections, and now that you are you and know that you are human and you don't have to be perfect. After which you will realize how powerful it is to be a woman. Never say that you are not able to perform what you are passionate about because of your gender. Because even in the research of the Philippine Commission on Women, according to what Roberta has read, it has stated that women in key government positions have shown that they are just as capable and successful as their male counterparts when it comes to leadership and decision making. So, to all the women out there, we are not just a woman. You are a woman. Hence, you are capable of everything that you put your mind to. Be bold, claim your seat at the table. It's time for our voices to be heard. So, yeah, that's all for me, Francine. Thank you.
I love that energy and vibe that you bring to the panel, Divine. Thank you so much. And let me just repeat something that I loved about your response. You are not just a woman, you are a woman. And that word brings so much power, love, and peace to the table. There's simply no way to go but upward and forward for women everywhere. Now, let's hear from Piensha. What solutions can you share with us on addressing the empowerment of women in decision making spaces? Hi, Piensha.
Hi. Hi, Francine. Hello, Francine. Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Hello.
Hello, once again. Okay, I want to share my different experiences, my different experience in the women participation in my country, also as well as in the public life. The first things I want to share is about to other self-confidence to the women. The first thing of the self-confidence, I think, is the best way because if you are the self-confidence, you can have the you can have the power of girls to speak. We must have the power of women to speak, no matter where you are, no matter what you are doing. So I want to talk about the here in our country. Now we have the women president. I want to is a women first lady presence is Sami Sulu. I'm proud of that because in our country is a first lady here. Also, because of this in decision making, women normally are not participating in different ways because it's due to the lack of competence, due to the discrimination or gender discrimination, also due to the loss of esteem, as well as we know when a woman work in the various area, they can have this the different obstacles so that can be very be feel very shy to difficulties. So I want to advise more that if you have more self-confidence, you can do whatever you are, you can do what you like, you can do and you can defend for your own life. Also, I want to share the different things that I want to share a little story that there's one of the girls. Her name is Najma. She's living in Arusha region. She's 17 years old. She's tried to advocate. She's tried to advocate for the adolescent girls about the importance of the nutrition in different areas, and he fulfill her mission that in different schools, she tries her best to have the different, to planting the different vegetables there, and more for that, parents, relatives are well, more observed that Najma, she's very fantastic to young women, and he do the big things regarding her age. Thank you.
Thanks, Piensha. And also, thank you, Shara, Roberta, Divine, and Piensha for your ideas. So, before we move on, let me just share with all of you a recap of what our panelists for the first forum on women's empowerment and participation in public life talk. What did they talk about? How did they angle their concerns and their narratives? Starting with Shara. So Shara's story is about her personal experience of not being heard, of not being seen, of not being empowered enough until slowly she found her way to being the empowered woman and girl that she is now through the movement. And Shara's story is actually the story of a lot of girls in her community and in different parts of the world. That is why she is campaigning for a resounding call for advocacies and the use of our voices to amplify the calls of women worldwide. And of course, we have Kai, or we call her Roberta. Roberta talked about nothing about girls without girls. That is her key message. It's important to highlight that in everything, in every talk, that girls should be consulted, their experiences should be heard. They should be empowered to speak up and be given a voice because girls are first and foremost the experts of their own lives and struggles. And we also have here with us Divine. Divine talked about how important it is to invest in yourself. So if we are seeking to create change in our world, it is important to start from within and let it flow outwards to your community, to your family, to your peers, friends, and on a global scale. And finally, we have with us Piensha, who talked about the importance of addressing societal issues like gender inequality, lack of female empowerment, low self esteem among women and girls, declining mental health, and empowering every type of woman to be as loud as they can be, to take up as much space as they can. Because there's only so much space that we could go from here. And if they don't give us a seat at the table, well, we have to bring a folding chair, as some famous woman mentioned. And yeah, thank you so much once again to Shara, Roberta, Divine, and Piensha for your amazing ideas, for sharing your candid experiences, and being courageous enough to share this with everyone here in the panel. So let us now turn our attention to the video on screen regarding the Girl Powered Nutrition Program.
My name is Sarna. Najma Mohammed Mohammed. I'm 18 years old. I started girl guiding when I was 8 years old. Through the Girl Powered Nutrition project, I managed to establish community gardens in 45 schools. I studied in a girls' school to get to know that iron is very important for our health. Getting things like green vegetables like once per month or twice per month, that wasn't nutritious for us. Then I had to talk with my guider. I started telling her that, sister, I have an idea of starting a garden. At first, getting a plot at my school was a challenge because for us, we used not to dig in our school. So sister was curious by that time, like, Najma, how can you just say you want to start a garden? I don't think if there is any plot here. And I just told her that, sister, I can take this small part, then I can do something. I just want to organize. We have green veggies, so as at least in each and every meal of ours, we should have green vegetables. In most cases, we don't get what we are required to eat daily. We just get foods, but those foods, they have got no enough nutrients that can help us. When this school started having this program of providing school dinners to the students, it has led to the good attendance of students in classes, but also it led to higher performance, less diseases. So from this, the Girl Powered Nutrition focus training that I got, it made me realize that I have to do something for my community. It's not just a matter of receiving something and sitting. There's so many people who are suffering, but they just can't stand and say something for themselves. it made me realize that I can speak in public, I can do anything so as just to make my fellow girls or just to make my community aware of these things. I just wish to see my society having an awareness of what nutrition is and putting it into practice. For many people think that following nutrition or following a balanced diet it's something expensive, while it's not at all. It's just something affordable, but it's just because we don't have that knowledge of knowing how can we prepare a balanced meal or a nutritious meal at a cheaper price.
Wow, there are literally no words to describe how powerful Najma's testimony was in being the change that she and her community needed. Her experience in the Girl Power Nutrition Program has transcended from being that of someone who understands that a problem exists towards becoming a guide for others to recognize and work on the problem. Last year, I know we were in a collective crisis. We were met with a collective lifestyle change due to the COVID 19 pandemic. It has significantly altered how we see the world, how we perceive the world, our work systems, our food systems has been changed because of the pandemic. And yet,
My name's
here we
Najma.
all are together. And you can view Najma's complete story along with the story of her community, her troop leaders, and her peers on WAG's YouTube channel. And now, talking about the pandemic, I would like to ask Lasika. Lasika is here as an advocacy champion for the GPN aside from her work as an expert on nutrition. She's a nutritionist and a dietitian. So, Lasika, how do you think that the problem brought about by the pandemic affect the physical and mental health of girls and women?
Thank you, Francine. That's a very, very timely question. And I think the pandemic, not only for girls, but we have all been affected in some way or the other, everyone, and a lot of things have changed. But women and girls in particular have been affected by malnutrition during the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly when we look at the access to food during the pandemic. So, a couple of reasons. One would be, I think, the problem around income. So, a lot of people lost their jobs either completely or partly, and this affected the amount of income that they were available to them to be able to buy food. So, that became a problem in terms of access. But also, most countries experienced the lockdown situation. So that means there were demands for food created by artificial shortages because people tended to queue up at supermarkets. So everybody just ran for food if they had the money to buy it. And at the same time, lockdown restrictions in terms of transport meant that supplies were an issue. So supplies did not get to people in a timely manner. So an increased demand artificially as well as a supply shortage in supply meant that again access to food was a problem. Culturally also women tend to be the last people to eat a meal in their households. So when there is a shortage like this, women get the leftovers per se. So again, a nutritious meal is not something they would have access to. And women, if they are pregnant or lactating women, they have more nutritional concerns. So they could fall into a state of nutritional deficiency. And on top of that, if there were women pre-COVID that were also suffering from nutritional deficiencies, but were reliant on their local ministries of health for like vitamin and nutritional supplements, this was also hampered because the healthcare system fell into a complete crisis. And COVID became the priority, and all other routine clinics became less of a priority. So women who were vulnerable in terms of nutrition pre-COVID fell further down into a case of malnutrition. Interestingly, something else that happened was that tying in with Najma's story as we looked at the video earlier, lots of people did take up home gardening because they realized that if they had something in their backyard in terms of nutritious food that they could tap into, then that meant they had a steady supply and were not reliant if they had to purchase food. So a couple of points to consider, but I think these were some of the main factors that I believe affected the access to food, and in particularly among the women. And I'm sure other panelists also will agree. And that's all from me, and over to you, Francine.
Thank you, Lasika, for that very professional insight on what the pandemic has caused our girls as well as their families and their communities. Now, Olivia, on to you. Based on your experience, what nutrition related progress have you observed in your country?
Wow, that was a very interesting question, Francine. Thank you for that. As for our country, Philippines, it has a long way to go in achieving a healthy and sustainable community. Although it has been revealed in the data that the number of incidents of underweight among girls and women declined over the last 5 years, other facets of malnutrition are still in upward trend. According to reports, the indicators show a lack of improvement on the issue of malnutrition among women and girls. The trend of stunting, overweight, micronutrient deficiency, and wasting is still in high number and has increased since 2003. Nevertheless, more people are being educated regarding proper nutrition here in the Philippines. They are also being engaged in initiatives and programs that target a healthy society. And most especially, they're being empowered to also speak up, to encourage and to empower others as well. There has also been a rise in initiatives and projects that improves and strengthen access of women and girls to proper nutrition. Uh, let's take Nutrition International, who partnered with NGOs to create programs and initiatives as an example of the progress we have here in the Philippines. Nutrition International works with the government of the Philippines through Department of Health, the National Nutrition Council, and its member agencies, local government units that includes the provinces, cities, municipalities, and barangays government units, also civil society groups. They also partner with them, just like the Girl Scouts of the Philippines, our very own MO, and as well like Family Foundation, and development partners like the UNICEF and Helen Keller International, with the aim of enhancing, accelerating, and expanding the intervention of nutrition here in our country, Philippines. There have been numerous programs and initiatives that the Nutrition International pioneered. It was a lot, but I will just mention three of it. First of this is nutrition advocacy, which ensures that nutrition is a priority in our country. Also, an initiative on urban nutrition governance that aims to improve the leadership and competencies of officials, government officials, and nutrition workers that will strengthen the health system monitoring with established indicators is also a main progress here in our country. Lastly, the girl-powered nutrition that ensures that girls get better and proper access to nutrition information and services. They have partnered with the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts and developed this program. It debuted in 4 pilot countries like the Philippines, as well as the Sri Lanka, Tanzania, and Madagascar. The GPN program aims to increase the knowledge and attitudes of Girl Scouts and Girl Guides to make a wiser and healthier food choices and to also improve their skills and their confidence, to also deliver the message of this program and to make a change and be the catalyst of change in their own community. These initiatives should be given a wider avenues to be acknowledged and known in order to reach more people, to reach more audience, especially girls and young women. strengthening and improving the access of information and services regarding nutrition evidently increased nutritional status of women and girls, thus positively affecting their representation and performance on decision-making process in public life. That's all, Francine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olivia. The partnership with Nutrition International and the creation of the GPN program are indeed the highlight of nutrition campaigns in the Philippines, as well as the individual changes that we've seen in ourselves. Can you share more about this topic, Sophia?
Absolutely, Francie. But first, I would like to agree and add on what the speaker just mentioned earlier. Because in the Philippines, since the lockdown started, it became harder to access healthy foods as restrictions made it complicated to go outside and buy food products because the community initiatives done are more focused on prolonging the food's availability, thus the proliferation of instant noodles, canned and frozen foods, and etc. With that, more people relied on creating a salad garden to ensure a sustainable source of food in the Philippines. On the other hand, women and girls should be equipped with the skills and platforms to create an impactful change in their communities. In WAG, activities such as the International Women's Day celebration, Surf Smart 2.0, the Her World, Her Voice grant, and surveys initiated by Europort Global have opened platforms for girls to enhance their skills and create an impactful change in their community. With that being said, little by little, decision makers and community members should listen to what the girls have to say, what the girls have to offer, providing support for certain projects and activities focused on improving nutrition for girls in different communities would be great as well. Achieving sustainable nutrition for girls in different communities would be great as well.
Thanks, Sophia, for your insights. And in your talk earlier, you've extensively talked about what Olivia has been building up to, and as well as the country's progress in nutrition campaigns and nutrition related issues. Now, in Fezloro's introduction earlier, we heard about the paper she wrote in relation to the SDGs. Fezloro, what roles do communities and decision makers play in amplifying the voices of girls and women?
Well, thank you, Francine, for that question and for giving me the floor. Being here today, you may know all that the empowerment of women and girls is a key entry point to improve nutrition outcomes at household, community, and national levels. That's why achieving the indicators for the Sustainable Development Goal number 5, which is achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls, is a community initiative that decision makers and community members must actively participate in so that they can have better opportunities to earn, learn, grow, and lead when they have adequate nutrition as for men. Good nutrition for girls is a necessary condition for the development of human capital, and the position of human capital facilitates access to other types of capital as physical, social, financial, and natural. It is crucial for economic development also. On one end, I think the community plays an important role as educators and listeners. First, their first mission is to educate girls to be confident and to dare to speak out about issues that matter to them. As the African proverb says, it takes a village to speak out about the education of girls. The community is the first stage where girls lead, take action, and advocate. Secondly, it is essential that listen to young girls and women in order to understand the issues affecting them. I'm not only talking about nutrition and inequality, it is valid on several terms. As a result, the community will adhere to their cause and support them to make a more inclusive society. Moreover, logically, every individual in a community is made to help each other. Why not on the causes affecting girls and women? In addition, having more support can easily influence decision makers. On the other hand, decision makers must give importance to the voices of young girls and women and provide them with the opportunities to be heard. Besides, equipping them with the skills and letting them hold decision-making positions are part of their responsibilities. And last but not the least, implementation of existing laws on gender equality and nutrition is a must. So thank you, Francine.
Thanks for this, Fezoro. You provided such critical insight on everything that we discussed this morning. And I personally can't wait to read about your paper on understanding gender equality and its role in the framework of the SDGs. And on your end, Ravaka, what indicators can we utilize to measure women's participation in public life in relation to their state of health and nutrition?
Thank you for your question, Francine. In my opinion, one of the most important indicators that can be utilized to measure women's participation in public life is the female representation in politics. For instance, the representation of female parliamentarians. Regarding the case of Madagascar, according to the United Nations Women, only 19.2% of parliament seats are held by women in Madagascar. The reality in our country is that the higher we go, the less women we see. And I firmly believe that this situation is mainly because of poor nutrition, poor empowerment of women in our country. That's all from me, Francine. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravaka. And of course, thank you, Lasika, Olivia, Sophia, Fezoro, and Ravaka for helping us further understand the importance of nutrition and how we can further support girls in reaching their fullest potential. Of course, let's just have a quick recap on what our amazing speakers talked about. So we have with us Lasika. Lasika talked about the side of the COVID-19 pandemic, its physical and mental health challenges that it posed for women and girls, considering that the restrictions for the lockdown have caused a bottleneck in food supply and in the food chain. This has sincerely caused problems for girls and young women in accessing nutritious food. And for Olivia, she talked about highlighting the work that we've already done, how advocacy champions were key towards lobbying decision makers, raising awareness about existing nutrition related issues, and finding consistent ways to make this program as sustainable as it can be. And this was further added to by Sophia, who talked about how necessary it is for good nutrition to be taught to schools, to be shared with young people, to be a consistent topic across negotiations and talks about women, girls, and their rights. And we have Zoro and her paper on understanding gender equality and its role in the SDGs framework. We all know that we have the Sustainable Development Goal 5 on gender equality, but we still need to strengthen how indicators are being met, how indicators are being reported, how it's perceived by society in order to engage more people to come together and work on addressing gender inequality. And lastly, we have Ravaka. Ravaka has great insights on what indicators are, as well as the percentages of parliamentarians recorded by UN women. And it's sad that we only have 19.2% of parliamentarians that are women across the world. but it is with hope that we find more ways to strengthen their voice, to ensure that women are acknowledged, they're heard, that they're respected, that they finally have a space in the decision making table. And thank you so much to our speakers. For now, we would like to invite the audience to have a 2-minute break to think about what questions would they like to ask our panelists. We'll have our question and answer forum in about 2 minutes. And what we want you to do, dear audience members and participants, is to think thoroughly what questions you have in mind for our speakers. Do you have some insights on nutrition and decision making in public life that you want them to address, you want them to talk more on, and maybe share some insights on the solutions that they've already done? So we'll have you some time. We'll give you some time, about 2 minutes, to think about it, and we'll be back with our Mentimeter. For our audience, you can also utilize the Q&A feature here on Zoom, and you can type in your questions on the chat box, and we'll make sure that your panelists, our panelists, will be able to answer your questions. So you can just type a general question for all of them to answer, or you can select panelists you've heard from a while ago, input your question, type in their name, and we'll make sure that they get back to you on it. All right, I think everyone is having quite a difficult time thinking of questions for our panelists. They're really great. They have such great ideas. And I really understand how mind blowing it might seem to ask a question for them. And what questions must we really ask of them? So, probably let's look into what questions that they might have in mind that you might have also stored in your mind and would want them to address. So, hello, Olivia. Can you share with us what have you been experiencing during the quarantine period, and how were you able to reach out to other girls? How were you able to help them become more empowered even as we face uncertain times? I've heard that in your campaign for the Together We Rise, you were able to launch a successful national month-long campaign. So can you share more about that?
Hello, Francine. Yes, it would be lovely to share to you my experiences during this quarantine. So, quarantine was a bit really pervasive on my mental health and other aspects of my life. But I was able to communicate with other girls through the social media since we can't go outside of our houses and because of the restrictions that the lockdown imposed. So yes, it was correct. We've successfully launched a month-long celebration or campaign for the Together We Rise, which aims to empower other girls and to echo what girls are advocating towards gender equal, towards a safe and secure place for other girls. Yes, it was hard to communicate with girls, but because of them, because of the girls, I was able to cope up with the pandemic and the stress, the anxiety that this uh, pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, gives to us. That's all, Miss Francine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Olivia. That's pretty inspiring. And a note for our audience today, they can be able to share their comments and thoughts through the question and answer feature here on Zoom, or right now in our question and answer forum. We enjoin you to send in your questions by going once again to menti.com. That's menti.com, menti.com, and type in the code 34431945. Once again, the code for menti.com is 34431945. So you can go to menti.com and we'll see you there. We want to hear what your thoughts are about the panel, as well as what questions you might have for our panelists. You can choose to name a panelist that you would want to answer your question, or you can also opt to have anyone answer your questions from our panel today. So I see a lot of familiar faces here with us, and also people who are very knowledgeable on this topic, particularly on nutrition and women's participation in public life. So maybe I could ask another panelist here with us, Fezoro. Can you share with us how we can further support girls and young women in creating a meaningful impact in their communities? I know you're an advocacy champion for WAGs also, and you have extensive experience on how to launch campaigns, how to lobby decision makers. Maybe you can share with us how are you able to do all this, and how can we continue making an impact by supporting girls and young women?
Well, thank you, Francine, for asking this question. I think in your question, we can empower girls, and we can bring into the light of the inequalities that women are experiencing. So we should take this trend as an opportunity to amplify our voices and advocate. However, we should be careful and provide enough and information about the issues that affecting girls to avoid getting into the troop of extremism. And also, we should provide girls to different opportunities for taking speak out about these issues affecting girls.
Thanks, Fezora. That's particularly nice to hear about creating more opportunities for girls, making them more enlightened, that opportunities do exist around them and are available for them should they want to access it. Now, for all the panelists, here's a question for you from someone in our audience. Her name is Estrella Adolfo. Now, Estrella is wondering, plants like vegetables grow seasonally. How could we get a balanced diet if we depend on our farm? So I think we have a few questions on our mentimeter.com, but let's first get on with Miss Adolfo's question. So would anyone in the panel like to answer? How could we get a balanced diet if they depend on their farm, and in their farm they have vegetables that grow seasonally? So would anyone from our panel like to answer this question?
Hi, Francine. Yeah, I would like to answer that question from Ms. Adolfo. Yeah, so she says that plants and vegetables grow seasonally, and how can we get a balanced diet? So usually, if you have a variety of vegetables, they grow in different seasons. So each type of vegetable or fruit is going to give you different nutrients. So that's why we always encourage you to try and have different fruits and vegetables. So the variety is important to getting what you need. And at the same time, it's not just that you need to eat from your garden. So what you can do is, if you have neighbors or family members around, it's sort of like a neighborhood or a community where you all have gardens, and you would probably end up growing different things, and you would start sharing. So that's one way where you can try and get a balanced diet. So you would grow maybe 2 or 3 types of vegetables, and your neighbor will have something that will complement it. So that's one way where you can try and have a balance. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Lisika. And now on to our menti.com. There's a question here. So, how is discrimination related to decision making? And what is its impact to the representation of girls and women? So, would anyone want to answer that question? I see
Hello.
Shara unmuting herself. Hi, Shara.
Hello. To answer that question, I believe that women are often perceived as weak due to the constructed preconception of gender. According to research conducted by the United Nations Division for the Advancement of Women, is that most majoritarian systems allow for the nomination of only one candidate per district, and parties in this situation they choose a male candidate. Also, it is stated there that even when women possess the characteristics that make a good candidate, they often are not encouraged to step forward to become candidates. To sum it up, we are not given equal opportunities as men, which cause underrepresented women in a high decision-making process, and it hinders us from speaking up and deciding our own, which results in the continuous challenge for women in surpassing various issues. Again, women should be treated equally with men in decision making, as the contemporary issues we are facing knows no gender. Thank you.
Thank you, Shara. That's a great answer. And I think we have about 8 questions. So I think we're done with the first one. Let's move on to the second question in our Mentimeter. Okay, here is another question. Aside from government and non governmental organizations and NGOs' efforts on alleviating nutrition related issues, as a Girl Scout or as a Girl Guide, what other initiatives can they do? So, a lot of our panelists are actually advocacy champions for the Girl Powered Nutrition Program, and some are advocacy champions for WAG. So, would anyone want to take the lead in answering this question? Okay, I think we also have our panelists who are a bit nervous to talk about their experiences, but probably because they're so excited to share with you how it has been, how what a journey it has been throughout a year. So, Olivia, I see you unmuting yourself and opening your camera. Would you share with us your answer to this question?
Yes, Francine, it would be lovely to share to you my answer. So personally, I firmly believe that there are numerous initiatives and programs that targets the eradication of the burden of nutrition-related issues. In relation to this, as a Girl Scouts and as the Girl Guides of the WAGs, we can extend our help by discovering these numerous initiatives, to give them enough platform to be known and to amplify their cause in order to acknowledge by bigger and more audience, most especially women and girls. This action manifests our support to their vision and to the goals of the government and NGOs efforts. That's, I think, the least and the best effort that we can do to alleviate nutrition related issues. Thank you, Ms. Francine.
Thanks, Olivia. You mentioned an important and critical point of what we're doing, which is alleviate. So maybe you can't solve all the problems at once, but it is important to note that as an advocacy champion, as a Girl Scout or Girl Guide, being able to create small changes within yourself and having that change emanate outwards to your community, to your family, to your friends, to your peers, will be able to create a ripple of change, and that change shall grow steadily and impact different communities as well. And maybe you're not able to change everything in the world, but the world needs the good that you can do. And it is important that your voice is loud enough and you are courageous enough to take up as much space as you can. So thank you, Livia, for sharing your answer with us. And let's go to the third question. Okay. How can I sport girl? Actually, this is a question that was raised in our Q&A feature by Noor Ul Nisa, and Piansha has answered this. So Piansha, would you mind sharing with us some of your answers that you shared with Noor in the question and answer forum? Maybe you can read out loud your answers. Hi Piansha. All right. Hello.
Hello, Francine.
Hello.
Okay, I want to share this question about how can I support the girls. The first things I like is to have the is to have the different activities in your region or in your area that you live. If you have the different activities, first thing you should share with the member of the member of the government, or you can share with the stakeholders so as he or she can support you in a different sports for girls. As you know that when we empower girls and young women, no matter where you go, either in the government or in our different stakeholders can help you and can support you.
Thanks, Piensha. And it's really important that we are able to diversify our programs to increase girls' participation and engagement, and partnering with different stakeholders, ensuring that all sectors are heard and accounted for. So I think a very important quote that I've learned this week is when you are in a room, it is your responsibility to see who isn't there and what is missing and work towards addressing that. So thank you so much, Noor, and thank you so much, Piensha, for answering the question. So our next question, the fourth out of 10 questions here. Wow, this is pretty amazing. How can I work on girl nutrition? So our panelists, dear panelists, who would like to answer this question?
Okay, I want to answer a little things about that question. How can I work on girls' nutrition? The first thing is to have the education in different schools or in different communities. So the first things, if you have non-formal education in your schools or in the community, you should, the aim is to advocate them for adolescent girls in nutrition. Also is to know how the girls can have the good balanced diet in his or her home. So if you in your home, even though there is a now pandemic, there's now pandemic or COVID-19, the first thing is to look, do you have the enough capital to buy them? Or do you have the enough, do you have the enough vegetables in your range? So no matter where you are doing to work with the different girls, the first thing is to have the education in one way or to another. Anyone can proceed.
Thank you, Piansha. Girl powered nutrition is really not limited to a certain kind of sector or a certain kind of group. It is a program that is available and should be accessible to everyone because it talks about nutrition. A core principle of what we do and who we are is anchored on achieving a healthy state of mind and body to enable us to reach our fullest potential. Now, would other advocacy champions or other panelists love to talk on this since this is something that they worked on previously or currently?
Yes, I have something to tell. Just I think In addition to PNC said, WOGs have GPN toolkits that you can run direct action communities, like setting up vegetable gardens, like sensitizing others, and advocate at the local and international. Thank you.
Thank you, Fezoro. And now I'm seeing Sophia opening her camera and probably unmuting. So, Sophia, would you like to talk about the work that we're doing on girl powered nutrition and how can our audience work on girl powered nutrition as well?
Francine, I would like to answer the next question.
Okay, that would be great. Thanks, Sophia. So, I think everyone has shared basically the same idea on how everyone can access Girl Powered Nutrition program. And a tip here is you could also visit WAG's official website and look for the resources on Girl Powered Nutrition. There are activity packs available and also resources on our YouTube channel. So let us move on to the next question. Okay, here's the question that Sophia will answer. Why is it important for girls to advocate at global events like CSW or the Commission on the Status of Women?
Thank you, Francine. Answering the question, I think that it is imperative that young women and girls have a voice or have a representation in the global event like the Commission on Status of Women to be the messengers of the needs and requests of the majority or the people so that we will be heard by the decision makers and help open their minds and raise issues for them to solve or for them to help us solve. Thank you.
Thanks, Sophia. And I see Divine now unmuting herself and opening her camera. Hi, Divine. Would you like to add on this question?
Yes, Francine, I just wanted to add to what Sophia has said because given that CSW or Commission Status of Women, it is the largest annual gathering of the international women's movement at the UN, and nearly 4,000 NGO representatives is participating. So we can gather more audience and yeah, indeed, our voices could be heard. So yeah, that's why it is important for girls to advocate at global events like this. Yeah, thank you, Francine.
Thanks, Divine. And let's move on to the next question. Okay. What advice can you tell women and girls for them to give importance about nutrition and to help them dispel or not believe in different myths about nutrition? So, Sophia, would you like to take the lead on this one?
Sure, Francine. So, it is important to have a healthy diet to be able to have the nutrients your body needs to be able to properly function daily, is what I would tell girls to be for them to take note of their health and nutrition. Myths are not supported by research and are usually absurd, and we cannot consider it as a fact. So, to research more on how to improve one's health, I suggest researching the claims of whatever myth is mentioned and see if it is factual or not.
Thanks, Sophia. It's actually a core part of what Girl Guides and Girl Scouts in the Girl Power Nutrition program are already doing. So there are national campaigns such as the Put Together, Put Your Best Fork Forward from the Philippines about creating an information drive on nutrition myths and addressing nutritional related concerns by girls. So thank you so much, Sophia. And how about our other panelists? Would you like to add on Sophia's answer or maybe share some insights on this?
Yes, I have something to add. I think it is also necessary to consult health professional to get relatable info about nutrition.
Thanks, Fezoro. Got it on that. And thank you, Sophia. And thank you, Fehizoro, for sharing your answers. Now, let us move on to our next question from our audience. So, how can boys and men actively support this cause to alleviate inequality of nutrition for women and ensure girls and women have effective participation in public life? So, how can boys and men actively support this cause to alleviate inequality of nutrition for women and ensure girls and women have effective participation in public life? So, do any of our panelists have some insights on this matter? Okay, I see Ravaka. Hello, Ravaka.
Hi, Francine. I have something to say about this question. I think that the one way we can incite boys and men to actively support this cause is to make them know the importance of women's participation in public life, which means that it is important to know that women make up more than the half of the world's population, and development cannot be implemented but by only men and boys, but they also need the support of women in order to reach sustainable development. So it is important to sensitize them on the importance of nutrition in all humanity, and not only boys and men, but also girls and women, in order to reach a better world and to create a better life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravaka. Indeed, for problems like nutrition, it does not know any gender. However, because there is disproportionate effects of malnutrition on women and girls, there is a heightened concern for us to address this matter as soon as possible. But it should not exclude other genders, particularly boys and men, from actively supporting the cause. In fact, Girl Powered Nutrition, in one of its stages, advocates for everyone to contribute towards attaining a good state of health for the community, their country, their family, their peers, and their friends. And of course, we're now moving to the eighth question in our lineup. Okay, I think this is more of a thought about what it is they've heard during the panel. Nutrition is not just about the physical, like our panelists have said, but there is social violence related to nutrition. Piensha mentioned gender power norms. So, Piensha, maybe you would like to talk about this, expand on this train of thought that you were able to share with us earlier. Hi, Piensha.
Hi. Okay.
Can you comment on this, particularly since you mentioned about gender norms, food taboos in your country, and the need for empowerment of women and to address low self esteem? So maybe you can add on to what you've mentioned as gender power norms.
Okay, I want to share a little things about the nutrition. Is not just about the physical, like all our panelists have said, but there is a social violence related to nutrition. Okay. Yes, I want to talk about the food taboos that is related with the social violence. Because as we know, I want to talk about here in our countries, there is a different region that men are eating the good nutrition habits rather than the women. So I think the best way is to balance the meals even though men are eating the more good food, more balanced diet rather than the women, but we can have the balance equal to them. Men should balance as well with women. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Piensha. And let's move to the ninth question for our Listen to Girls Q&A forum. So, how does nutrition link to girls' participation in decision-making spaces? So, I believe this was answered by our panelists, but let's have a quick recap. So, would anyone in the panel love to talk about this topic and maybe jog our memory up a bit?
Hi, Ate France, can I?
Yes, go ahead, Roberta.
As I've said earlier, according to a research that I have read by the Philippine Commissions of Women, um, only 1/5 of the government elected positions is a woman. And if the women in key government positions has the capability to lead and to make decisions, and so as other girls and young women can participate in decision making spaces, and they can also decide for what they can do to make a sustainable future ahead of us.
Thank you, Kai or Roberta. And I remember your talk was about how there is a need to connect girls' participation in decision making because proper nutrition enhances the girls' full capabilities, their body processes, and helps them realize their fullest potential and enables them to work well. And when they're able to work well and think well and perform well, they're able to contribute more towards decision making and amplify their participation while empowering others to do the same as well. So, thank you so much, Roberta, for answering the question. Now, for the 10th question in our lineup, this is particularly insightful and at the same time something that wasn't mentioned earlier, so it's nice. How do patterns of decision making between genders affect women's health issues? So, that is a particularly unique question, and thank you to the audience for sending it to us. So, would anyone want to follow this up with an answer or maybe a personal anecdote? Would anyone in our panel? Okay, I see Fezoro. I think she wants to add her insights on this.
Yeah, I think nowadays we have more women in decision making, more men in decision making. So uh, they are not aware of the issues that women lead. So this is why it is important to lead women participating in decision making. Thank you.
Thanks, Fezoro. And would anyone else love to add on to what Fezoro mentioned and talk about the patterns of decision making between genders that affects women's health issues? So our panelists have talked about how important it is to diminish gender biases, how important it is to dispel food taboos, how important it is also to amplify girls' voices by listening to them extensively, by allowing them to speak up and giving them the skills, the resources, the platform, and the network to be able to forward these advocacies on a global scale. So I think our panelists all agree with what Fezoro mentioned. Let's see the 11th question. How about the 12th question? Okay. So thank you for the question. The question is, what is girl powered nutrition? So anyone in the
Hi, Ate
panel?
Francine.
Okay. Hi,
Can
Roberta.
I? Yes. Girl Powered Nutrition is a global program run by the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts through the four piloted countries, the Madagascar, Philippines, Sri Lanka, and Tanzania. They are chosen because of their high rates of adolescent malnutrition amongst girls. Girl Powered Nutrition is funded by the Nutrition International, and the GPN program promotes girl led change through the education and the importance of a balanced, healthy lifestyle and enabling girls to be the agents of change at local, national, and global levels. That's all.
Thank you, Roberta, for emphasizing that. And yes, Global Power Girl Powered Nutrition, as mentioned by Roberta, is a partnership between WAGS and Nutrition International. It's brought to 4 pilot countries, and it is set to continue the work that they've done through a new set of advocacy champions who have trained with the previous advocacy champions from the pilot batch, and they're creating national and regional advocacy campaigns, lobbying decision makers to push for strengthen policies for women and girls' health and nutrition. And our next and last question for today. Okay, so I think since we've mentioned something about violence against women and girls, we've also mentioned how this affects them emotionally and physically. The question here is, what must we do when a boy or a man is seen bullying a woman? Okay, Sophia, I could see you. Can you share with us your insights or your ideas on this?
Absolutely, Francine. So that is actually a very great question. I would like to say that if it's us that is being bullied, we should speak out for ourselves and defend ourselves, as bullies will not back down unless we speak for ourselves. As a girl that was constantly bullied since elementary till high school for being outspoken and confident of herself, I will say that you should not tolerate what they do. There's nothing wrong with what you do. These people are only trying to dim your shine. No one should ever stop you from being a star. If they say that you're full of opinions, you could respond with, and what's wrong with that? For other girls, if you see a girl being bullied, you help her, defend her, because in the modern world, we believe in women empowerment and we should not let anybody step on us.
Thank you, Sophia. And your experiences have wonderfully shaped you to be an empowered woman. And I hope this advice that you gave to our audience will help them overcome this problem and be able to establish a society where women aren't harmed anymore, where violence is significantly reduced, and where everyone is treated equally, regardless of their gender. Now, thank you so much to all our panelists for courageously sharing their stories in this space and working on amplifying the voices of women. Now, before we end, let us hear again from our panelists, starting with Shara. Hi, Shara.
Hello, Francine. I
The
am
closing
Shara
statement.
Pascual, a guide at CSW, and my message for our decision makers is to provide an equal seat for all genders and positions on decision making. The gaps in between women and men need to fill in for us to have a balanced participation. This can be done through funding, supporting, engaging, and strengthening the girls' representation. We deserve to observe, to voice out, and to achieve a better and safer world where women are free from violence, inequalities, and navigate health nutrition. Ever since then, it is the right
Format
time
kritika
to listen
sajalah.
to girls, taking part in the process, hear our call for change, and take action. Thank you.
Thank you, Shara. Let's also hear now from Roberta. Hi, Roberta.
Hello, Ate Francine. Once again, everyone. I am Roberta Dian B. Martin, a guide at CSW, and my message for our decision makers is we are advocating to strengthen the girls' and young women's power to engage in decision-making situation and demonstrating the inequity faced by women who have less access to education, which is a major indicator of their weak participation in decision making. Again, poverty is related to malnutrition and disease, but so is disempowerment and marginalization. And as a result, many women and girls are subjected to violence and other violation of their human rights. And the reason why women are nonetheless underrepresented is not because of their lack of competence or qualifications, but rather the presence of statistical discrimination. And it is a struggle to promote women's participation in decision making. strengthen the girls and young women to engage in decision-making situations, and create transparency to improve the society engagement so that girls and young women can stand up for themselves and fight for their right. Gender parity in decision making has a positive impact on the economy and is a necessary condition for the elimination of poverty and attainment of national, social, and economic development. That's all, Francine. Thank you.
Thanks, Roberta. And we would also like to hear from another panelist. Hi, Divine.
Hi, Francine. Hi, hello, everyone again. So I am Mary Divine de Villa Luna, a guide at CSW, and my message for our decision makers is to always look on the unfiltered side of social issues. People tend to overlook some crucial points that contribute to worsening the situation. We have a lot to consider in every situation because everything is interconnected. Not everyone has the privilege to speak out, but we hope that once we all recognize the existence of such problems, we can take action. So that will be all. Thank you, Francine, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Divine. And once again, thank you for working on taking action for women and girls in your line of work. And now let's hear from Piensha. Hi, Piensha.
Hi. Hi, Francine. Okay. My message to the decision maker. The first thing I have two points. The first thing is the empowerment of the women, and the second is the gender equality. How? Empowerment of women is due to have the education from one way to another so as to avoid gender discrimination from our country as well as worldwide. Also, in gender equality, we should have equal opportunity so as toward to have the toward to have the gender norms with equity. Also, I want to share how this can be in rural areas. Girls and women should be considered no matter where they live, no matter where they are doing. Thank you.
Thanks, Piensha. And now let us hear from Olivia. Once again, hi, Olivia.
Hello, Francine. Hello, everyone. Once again, I am Olivia P. Sabado, a guide at CSW, and my message for our decision makers is we have been on a long journey in eradicating gender inequality, but its effects have not lessened in magnitude. Violence against women and girls cases are rising exponentially, along with nutrition related issues affecting women's growth and development, hindering them from achieving their fullest potential. Biases on representation in the decision making process on problems involving girls and women are still present up to this day. To achieve an inclusive, empowering, and prosperous community for all, everyone must have equal rights and opportunities as well. We can realize this by listening to girls' narratives of their own experience and formulating solutions that address the problem at its core. Moreover, a substantial review and amendment of legislation and policies should be set in place in order to generate a clearer and stronger mechanism for women and for girls to participate on process of decision making. We must increase decision makers' accountability and reject tokenistic strategies in order to fully amplify girls' voices. Women and girls are half of the world's population. This is enough reason to give them platforms and spot that they deserve, most especially on decision-making spaces of problems that involve them. Girls and women deserve to be seen and to be heard. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olivia. Indeed, 50% of the population deserves at least 50% of the representation everywhere. Now let's listen to Sophia. Hi, Sophia.
Hello, Francine. So again, I am Sofia Lambda Los Santos, a guide at CSW, and my message for our decision makers is to pay attention to the voices of the advocates as we are the messengers of what the majority clamor for, a better and safe world for everyone. Achieving the indicators for the sustainable development goals is a community initiative that decision makers and community members must actively participate in. It is imperative that they share the views of the advocates to be able to help amplify the voices of girls and young women. They must have an open mind and work on the struggles that girls experience. We can further support girls by listening to what they have to say, as they have seen the issues and problems that they try to alleviate firsthand, and to help them in the plans and advocacies that they believe can help change the world for the better. We should encourage and assist them with their projects to further increase their impacts in their individual communities and maybe even up to national or global level. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia, and great work. Now, let us hear from Ravaka. Hi, Ravaka.
Hi, Francine. And again, I am Ravaka Rajanarmanan, a guide at CSW. My message to our decision makers is remember that women play an important role in our community, and it is important to enforce law and legislation in terms of gender equality, gender-based violence, and female representation in public life. However, promoting women's participation in public life won't be possible without supporting and empowering them with healthy nutrition. I want all decision makers from all across the world and on all levels of position of power to know that we cannot reach sustainable development goals without the full participation of women, including leadership and public representation. Therefore, it is crucial that women are given the same chance and opportunity as men because both individuals should bring their part on the table in order to contribute for a better world. Thank you, Francine.
Thank you, Ravaka. And absolutely, no one should get left behind as we reach for sustainable development. And on to you, Fezoro.
Well, thank you once again. I'm Faizur Malal, a guide at CSW, and my message to our decision makers is that we have so many and different girls all over the world. These girls can be capable of anything. They can be full of potential, strong and talented girls. Girls who can make positive changes in their community and yet be held back by a great wall of separation, which is that of the deficiency in nutrition by inequality in content present. It is in your duty and power to support them, to help to them so that we have a community ruled by equal opportunities for all in terms of nutrition. Besides, let's work together on the establishment of a sustainable strategy on the empowerment of girls and the strengthening of the legislation on the freedom of participation of women and girls in the decision-making sphere. Imagine in 2030 a world where girls thrive freely, participating and building a safer and better world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fezoro. Always, always, always for her world. And last but not the least, we have with us once again, Lasika. Hi, Lasika.
Hi everyone, once again, I'm Lasika, a guide at CSW, and my message for our decision makers is that our societies need to be enlightened, that the voices of girls and women should be heard, starting at the levels of households and communities, which is a key to empowering women to take on higher positions in decision-making roles. Thank you.
Thank you, Lasika. And thank you to our panelists, to the organizers, and to the audience. Thanks for tuning in to our girl led dialogue titled Nutrition Next Gen Empowerment. Keep the engagement going by following our delegates' journey at WAGS Delegates. You can also use the hashtags guide at CSW and hashtag listen to girls. Stay on the lookout for the social media storm happening on Wednesday. See you again soon, everybody.